Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. I um, I play tested the new design with myself a few times last night after work, and then between everything else that I've been doing, like kid and life, yeah. So between stuff yesterday, last night, last evening, whatever, this morning, between tasks, I spent some time with an AI tool called Crayon. It's one of the worst I could find, which was intentional. I'm not trying to piss off anybody by using AI generated art. I chose to do watercolor style because I figured that's usually kind of muddy and undefined anyway. So I just really wanted placeholder images that when I play a game, I never read. Once you've played a game once or twice, very rarely do you need to read the card. You can see the image and know immediately what the card does. And so I don't like playtesting with blank cards. It makes it very, very difficult, and it often makes it makes the playtester view the experience negatively. So I went ahead and generated a bunch of AI art. So I'm going to sit here and cut these with my 12-inch, my Carl 12-inch heavy-duty rotary cutter. This is one of the best tools you could possibly own if you do any amount of game design. So while we do that, I got a question yesterday from Chris, and so let's talk about it. Chris said, "Who are your favorite game designers and why? Was there a game or point where you had an aha, this person is awesome moment during a gameplay? Do you have a favorite game mechanic? What game does it best?" So that's 1,000 questions in one. I'm going to start with my favorite designer, and I'm going to name two people you may not know. They haven't had any, at least to my knowledge, they haven't had any super popular designs in quite a while, but they've had a huge influence on me and the things that I do. And the first one is Mike Fitzgerald. Mike Fitzgerald primarily does card games. He's been doing them since the 90s. He did a collectible card game I absolutely adore called Wyvern. It is a lane battling card game. Very, very, very cool design. Unfortunately, like most trading card games from the 90s, it never made a mark. He also has done Baseball Highlights 2044, which is a really cool deck builder, baseball themed deck builder. As well as a whole series of games called Mystery Rummy. Jack the Ripper, Mystery Rummy, Bonnie and Clyde. Wyatt Earp is another design of his that is Mystery Rummy adjacent. So, so that's one, and I'll tell you why in a second, because the second person is Michael Schacht, or Schacht. I don't know how to say his name. He's German. Michael designed Coloretto and Hansa, not Hansa Tuatanica, but Hansa, just two of my absolute favorite kind of sort of set collection games. And the reason that I love both of these designers is because they both have an ability to capture simplicity and leverage it for their designs and make very interesting decisions out of very simple processes. So, the aha moment that you asked about would be playing Coloretto. Coloretto is when I fell in love with Michael Schacht, however you say his name. If you don't know Coloretto, it is a simple we split, someone choose set collection type game. Basically, on your turn, you either flip over a card and add it to a set of cards, or you take a set of cards. At the end of the game, you can score 3 of those sets. Everything else is negative points. That's it. That's the entire game. It is phenomenal. And playing that game one day, it was just like, oh my god, this game is so simplistically beautiful. It is so crunchy. The thoughts that you have to have, it's just so fantastic. I fell in love with that immediately. And for Fitzgerald, it was playing probably, I mean, Wyvern, obviously. I loved Wyvern from a very early start. But playing his Mystery Rummy series, playing like take a regular game like Rummy and turn it into something fantastic. I mean, I enjoy Rummy. Like Malia and I used to play Rummy a lot because it was one of her favorite games to play with her grandma. So we played it a lot, and it's a fantastic little game. Like there's not a whole lot of thought that needs to happen. There's not a whole lot of decisions. You just kind of play, and you kind of hope your opponent makes a mistake, and that's about it. And it's a good casual chill out kind of game. And Mike took those games and turned them into something extra special. So those are my two. Those two hold a special place in my heart. Their games I don't play that often anymore. I still own all of the games that I've just mentioned. They don't hit the table very often, mostly because I'm playing 2-player and I'm playing much more complex Euros these days. But I would never turn down a game of Hansa or Coloretto or Mystery Rummy or Baseball Highlights. You know, very, very, very fantastic games. There was, for me, the aha moment with game design. I don't know if that's what maybe maybe you're asking, was James Ernest. I met James Ernest in 96, 97. I think it was 97. Cheap Ass wasn't really a thing yet. He had just kind of started it. He showed up to Origins. I was in the X-Files booth right across the aisle from him. He had just a table and a stack with some manila envelopes, and nobody was talking to him until Open Gaming Saturday at Origins that night. He brought out a bunch of his games and asked people to play, and the next morning at Open, his booth was sold out. And he was taking pre-orders and promising free shipping. And he's another game designer that made, I mean, probably, I don't know if I'm exaggerating when I say he's made hundreds of games that are all just simple, quick decisions, very similar to the other two. But I would say that none of his games captured my imagination. But he is the reason I started designing games, because I saw what he was doing and I went, I could do that. Like those are, I mean, anybody could make those games, and I started doing them. I started making those super duper simple games, a deck of cards and a die or some pawns or a simple board. That was where I got started. Favorite game mechanic. My favorite game mechanic doesn't exist yet. It does. It's a complete lie. Ashes Rise of the Phoenix or Ashes Reborn uses it. But since about 1998, no, probably 99, I have been attempting to design a game like, it started off as, what if Magic the Gathering, but instead of lands, you rolled dice each turn, and that determined the resources that you got. That was the initial impetus for 25 years now. Almost 25 years I've been chasing that design. I've been chasing some version of rolling dice to generate resources and using that as a mechanism to purchase things. I don't mean like Stone Age. I don't mean like Stone Age at all. What I mean is like, you roll 5 dice, those are the 5 resources you can use. So they come up, it's what the Viking game has been built on all this time. You roll 5 dice, you get food, you get wood, you get stone, whatever. That's the resources that you have to spend for the turn, and if you don't spend it, it's lost. That is my favorite mechanic. I've not played it in anything other than Ashes. And possibly, I guess you could argue that Dice Throne is like that. It basically is very, very similar to what I've been trying to do all this time. And I would say that I haven't found the game yet that has successfully used it the way that I've always wanted to use it. So I'm going to keep working on it. Someday it'll enter back into my design space and I will try again. Right now I have notes on the next version of the Viking game, but I have not made any forward progress on it. I've just been enjoying other people's games. So there you go. I hope that answers most of those questions. Thank you for asking those questions. I really appreciate the content. What are your guys's? Who are your favorite designer? Who is your favorite designer? And do you have a favorite game mechanism? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is sartorial. It's an adjective meaning anything related to the way a person dresses, typically used to describe a man who wears finely tailored clothing. Jonathan's personal tailor always makes sure that Jonathan radiates sartorial splendor. Sartorial. S-A-R-T-O-R-I-A-L. I think that would be a fun game. Make a game about sartorial dress.